What's going on, guys? We're going to talk today about 5 tips for beginner riders. 5 tips for beginner riders. Tip number 1, start out small. What I mean by that is start out with a small bike, a smaller bike. Now, some people I see post online where they've got they bought their first bike, and it's a Harley Davidson Electric Glide or Road Glide, whatever it may be, being a bigger bike, which is fine and good. Some people can do that, but my advice is to start with a smaller bike. Get something that is lighter, that you can handle. It's easier for you to handle. It's easier to maneuver, and learn to ride on something that's a little bit lighter. Tip number 2, get the right gear. When I say get the right gear, I'm talking about helmets, gloves, especially if you're a first-time rider, beginner rider. Get some good gloves, footwear, some riding boots, riding shoes, whatever it may be. Don't get out there and learn how to ride in tennis shoes or, God forbid, flip-flops or some crazy stuff like that. Get the right gear for the ride, jacket, whatever it may be, but especially get a good helmet, something that's going to protect your melon, the old melon. Now, you don't have to go out and spend $600, $700, $800 on a helmet, but don't get out here and learn to ride with some novelty helmets, or I would suggest, in my advice, not even a half helmet or something like that. Get you a good full face helmet to protect yourself and learn to ride with that. Get the right gear, especially a good helmet. Alright, tip number 3, start out riding small. Now, what do I mean by that? When you start out riding, if you're a beginner rider, don't jump out on the interstate and try to run with all the traffic. Start out riding around your neighborhood, riding on surface streets, just doing small stuff. If you've never ridden before, if you have an area where you can practice, like a big yard or a parking lot, get out in those areas. Practice turning, practice handling the bike. Start off slow, okay? Do it in small steps. Start riding slow. Once you get out on the road, go for short trips. You don't have to go fast. Get out and ride, within a safe speed, but 40, 50 miles an hour, whatever it may be. And don't try to do too much too early. Take it, practice, start out slow until you're comfortable with what speed you can ride, what you can do. Ride around the neighborhood, get used to the bike, and then once you're a little more comfortable with the bike, a little more comfortable with riding, then you can start riding further, making longer trips, going a little bit further, going a little bit faster, and increase what you're doing on the bike. But start out riding small. Tip number 4, practice, 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 especially slow speed handling, slow speed maneuvers. Practice your smooth and controlled starts and stops. Practice your U-turns, practice turns. As you get a little more advanced, practice emergency braking, practice counter steering, practice those slow speed maneuver skills, because anybody can get out here on the road and ride 55, 60, 70 miles an hour in a straight line, but where most people are going to have issues is going at slower speeds, especially under 10 miles per hour. So I'm telling you, if you're a beginner rider, you can get up riding in a straight line, it's no problem. Where you're going to have issues is when you slow down, having to handle your bike at slower speeds, 10 miles an hour or under, making turns, coming to a red light or a stop sign, feeling unstable, whatever. So slow speed practice is a must. That is a high priority for a beginner rider, in my opinion. So practice those slow speed skills. When you do it, practice, practice, practice. Tip number 5, ride within your skill level. What I mean by that is don't override yourself. Don't ride too fast. Don't follow too closely. Don't try to do too much. Stay within your skill level. Don't push it if you're a beginner rider. As time progresses, you'll become comfortable with what you can do and what you can't do. Now granted, a lot of accidents probably happen because we as riders fail to assess our own skill level. Meaning, we rate ourselves at a skill level, oh, I'm at a skill level of 8, when actually you're at a skill level of 5. Okay? So, that can be a little difficult. But most of us know, once we're getting into that area where I'm pushing beyond my capabilities, you can recognize that. If you're a beginner rider, don't do that. Okay, stay within the levels that you feel comfortable with riding. That's it, guys. There are many other forms of advice or tips that people might give. Let me know down in the comments what your tips are or your advice is for new or beginner riders. And those are mine. Okay, so if you have something different that you would put in your top 5, leave down in the comments what those are. And if you are a new or beginner rider, there's some more advice. If you're on the highway, don't camp out beside big trucks. You don't want to be cruising along beside them if they have a blowout. But anyway, if you are a new or beginner rider, don't get too comfortable. Respect the bike, respect the road, ride within your skill levels and practice with the right gear, and you should be okay. And guys, here's a bonus tip for beginner or new riders. I didn't include this in the top 5, but I probably should have. You get out on the road, ride with the mindset that you are invisible. Okay? If you're around other vehicles, if there's a car sitting on the side of a side street or something, a road waiting to pull out, always assume that they do not see you. Don't ride down the road thinking, oh, they see me coming, and never check your speed or something like that. This probably should have been in the top 3, okay? But I just happened to think of it. So ride like you're invisible. Just assume that these people driving cars and trucks and everything, that assume that they don't see you. Okay, so if you're going down the road and somebody's waiting to pull out, slow down some, cover your clutch, cover your brakes, prepare to slow down quickly or have to make an emergency maneuver in case they pull out. That's actually happened to me before. And I had a vehicle waiting to pull out on the side, and I'm like, I went ahead and slowed down, started covering everything. What did they do? They pulled out in front of me. So if I'd have been clicking along and saying, oh, they see me, never checked up my speed, never prepared for anything, could have been bad. So people are sitting there, especially waiting to turn in front of you, waiting to pull out in front of you. Watch those front wheels on those cars for any movement. Assume they don't see you and prepare for the worst. And 9 times out of 10, they do see you, everything goes fine. But prepare for the worst case scenario. Okay guys, once again, thanks for watching. Leave down in the comments your tips, your advice for beginner riders, and we will catch you guys in the next one.